Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Mirror Dungeon solo video. Today we'll be using the single best identity in the entire game, and the one that will be in every single team I use from now on, whether she makes sense in it or not, the Queen of Hatred, Don Quixote. In case I'm not making it blatantly obvious enough, the Queen of Hatred is not only my favorite abnormality, but also my favorite character in the entire Project Moon universe. She is the true embodiment of the quote, "You either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain," and personally I find that entire concept to be severely underexplored, which is honestly such a shame because you can do some really cool stuff with it. Anyway, this video isn't a breakdown of the Queen and why I love her so much, it's about Don Quixote's version of her. So first and foremost, the best general description I can give to her is that she is a fairly average charge identity who alternates between being in positive and negative sanity. She also has Rupture and Sinking in her kit, but much like how W Dawn also has Rupture, she doesn't support either of them in any capacity. She plays like any other charge identity, building up charge with her more common skills and then spending it all on her skill 3, however every time she does this she gains the Magical Arcana status effect. This can also be gained through her passive, and it gives her a bit of a damage boost, but ultimately it serves as a tracker, because once it hits 3, she then flips her sanity to become a negative coin identity. In her hysteric state, her skills become a little bit stronger and gain attack weight, but other than that, they don't do anything all too differently. The main difference is that she loses the ability to naturally gain sanity by clashing in this state, which helps to solve the problem of accidentally reaching max sanity when you're using negative coins. The only way for her to return to being a positive coin identity is either through outside influence or by using her skill 3. Despite how flashy she is, she's honestly quite simple. Just a regular charge identity with a small dose of sanity mechanics sprinkled in for flavor. But honestly, in my opinion, that's a good thing because it means that she can be used in literally any team and you'll still get good value out of her no matter what. Anyway, to start the run off, we take these starter buffs and find these ego gifts on the first floor of Dregs of the Manor before making it to the boss against the Dead Rabbits boss. We start this fight corroded because, as it turns out, when you fight an enemy who can reduce your sanity when you clash against them and are incapable of gaining sanity from winning a clash, it's pretty likely that they'll end up corroding you at some point. It doesn't really make much of a difference as I was going to start by using an ego anyway in this fight, but hey, it's less inputs I have to do, I guess. After using the ego, it does get a little dangerous because the boss effectively steals all of his minions' skill slots, so unless we can stagger him immediately afterwards, he can very easily kill us. Fortunately, doing so is not too difficult with how strong we are, so as long as we get more than a few lucky heads rolls, from there winning is pretty much guaranteed. We take Ardent Flower and the mana-shaped music box for our reward, while also receiving wrist guards as a bonus before heading into To Be Crushed for the next floor. Here we find Bloody Gadget and buy Emerald Elytra, while also fusing the Book of Vengeance before making it to the boss against the Steam Transport Machine. The Steam Transport Machine is honestly quite a difficult fight even if you aren't fatal to blunt damage, specifically because of the sheer amount of paralysis it can inflict. If your base clash power isn't good enough, you can easily find yourself stuck in a cycle of constant lost clashes that quickly spiral into your doom. Fortunately, our clash power is good enough where the paralysis does almost nothing, and even if it wasn't good enough with enough lost clashes, we'd lose more than enough sanity to transform the paralysis from a debuff into a buff. And with how weak the robot is to blunt damage, coupled with his gimmick occasionally giving himself fragile, it really doesn't take us long to smash this villain to bits.
좋아, 이번에 박살냈어. 아르카나 슬레이버! 부위 하나가 파괴되었어. 이대로 똑같이만 한다면 모든 부위를 파괴시킬 수 있겠지?
이제 평화가
악당 퇴치 성공!
찾아오면
오늘도 정말 멋진 활약이었어.
We take lowest star and temporal brittle for our reward before heading into hatred and despair for the next floor. Here we buy spent use, forming hate, and my queen's lovely gift, while also fusing crushed memory before making it to the boss against the Knight of Despair. As many of you are likely aware, this fight is practically identical to the same Abnormality fight from Library of Ruina. The only major difference is the inclusion of a certain other magical girl. That and the fact that the knight herself can actually attack. I might be misremembering, but I'm fairly certain that in Library only her swords were capable of attacking, and she was otherwise untargetable. She has a similar level of invulnerability here, where upon summoning her swords she gains 10 protection and 500 shield, however it does decrease with every sword you defeat. Only one sword can be defeated at a time, and you can very easily tell which one is vulnerable, as it will be the only one with 2 skill slots. After you manage to defeat all 3 swords, she will stagger herself and take double damage from all attacks, allowing you to very easily defeat her. Or alternatively, you could lower her health to at least 600 and let the queen deliver the finishing blow, as she so rightly deserves. The only thing that's really worth mentioning, other than simply explaining this fight's gimmicks, is that we have to use an ego to turn off our gloom weakness, otherwise the knight will absolutely annihilate us. Because we start the fight in negative sanity though, and our ability to regain it from clashing is disabled, using any ego will end up corroding us. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter whether we corrode or not, but it's still worth mentioning just so that when you are using this identity, keep in mind that she cannot regain sanity while she's hysteric, else you might accidentally end up killing your whole team by corroding.
완벽한 한방 시원한걸? 무슨 일
아르카나의 사그레드에 분명 강한 암시가 걸린 걸 거야. 조심해야 해. 블레인 거야?
만만치 않겠군. 본인이 하지.
히야! 아르카나 빛! 차!
히어! 아르카나 슬레이브!
본인이 방금 뭘 본 것인가?
엄청나게 강한 일격을!
뭐야 이 수치는? 정의보다도 푸른 달, 사랑보다 붉은 달.
내가 쓸모가 있으려면 자! 사라져라!
대성공이야. 가론 신나. 노래 부를까?
아르카나 비트! 아르카나 비트!
개체에게 큰 피해를 준 것 같아. 교육팀의 직원다운 완벽한 공격이었어. 운명 속에 파묻힌 그대의 이름을 걸고 나 여기서 빛을 맹세한다. 우와,
무슨 일
사람도
있었던
깜짝.
게야? 만만치 않겠군! 본인이 하지! 제압 효과가 굉장히 좋았어. 기록적인 피해량인 것 같다.
우리 앞을 막는 증오스러운 존재들에게 나와 그대의 힘을 합쳐 위대한 사랑의 힘을 보여줄 것을! 우리가 우세를 정하고 있어.
만만찮겠군. 본인이 하지.
아르카나 레이! 당신 그래도 이제야 회사가 정상으로 돌아갔네. 이번 제압은 끝이야.
We take the Material Interference Force Field and Disc Fragment for our reward before heading into Murder on the Warp Express for the next floor. Here we find the crystallized blood and buy the uncapped defibrillator and prosthetic joint servos, while also fusing the charge-type gloves before making it to the boss against Cassetti. I don't really have anything to say about this fight. It's pretty much exactly what you would expect from a fight against a 6th Kindred versus a WA-level Abnormality. Complete and total annihilation.
너무 세게 맞은 건 아니?
시원한 스윙! 어디서 스트레스가 저 멀리 날아가는 소리 안 들리나요?
만만찮겠군. 본인이 하지.
이 정도쯤이야.
악은
이렇게 정말이
방금
없네.
어떻게 하신 거죠?
깜짝
놀랐어요.
방금 전에 위대한 일격을 기록하는 중이라네. 이따가 버스에서 회고해야 하지 않겠는가?
만만찮겠군. 본인이 하지.
자, 악은 이런 방금 멋졌어. 너희들의 사랑의 힘이 빛의 힘이 저 어둡고 악한 아르카나들을 뒤흔들었어.
아르카나
그러면 승리도 시간 문제겠지?
원더풀 선택이었어 나리. 전 약점이 뻔히 보이는 게로군. 사랑으로.
대성공이야. 가름 신나. 노래 부를까? 아까의 공격으로 인해서 대상에게 많은 피해를 입혔어.
만만찮겠군. 본인이 하지.
정의보다도 푸른 자여, 사랑보다 붉은 자여, 운명 속에 파묻힌 그대 이름을 걸고 여기서 빛의 맹세한다. 우리 앞을 막는 증오스러운 존재들에게 나와 그대의 힘을 합쳐 위대한 사랑의 힘을 보여줄 것을! 아르카나 슬레이버! 개체들의 체력이 많이 꺾여나갔어. 괴로워하는 게 느껴지지 않아? 이 기세로 계속 나아가보자. 승객이 딱콩 한 방 먹였어.
아, 혈액발을 맛있게 먹었나 보군요.
만만찮겠군. 본인이 하지. 정의의 이름으로. 야! 아르카나 슬레이버! 제압 효과가 굉장히 좋았어. 기록적인 피해량인 것 같다. 아르카나 슬레이버!
깨달음을 얻으셨군요.
이제야 회사가 정상으로 돌아갔네. 이번 제압은 끝이야. 정답이에요.
너희들도 고생 많았어.
We take the E-type dimensional dagger and a duplicate for our reward before heading into the dream ending for the final floor. Here we buy Devil's Share and Finifugality before fusing Clear Mirror Calm Water and getting, I guess, ridiculously unlucky in fusing a certain philosophy. Now, here's the thing. This ego gift is really good as it allows you to more efficiently fuse the things that you want. However, if you happen to get it on the final floor and no longer have any fusion fodder left, it is perhaps one of the worst gifts in the game because you can't even use it to fuse things. At least you can sell it for a lot, so I guess it's not completely worthless here. Sancho is our final boss, of course, and she's definitely more than a little tricky. In fact, the reason I went into the warp train on the previous floor was because I wanted to do this fight. The most difficult thing about Sancho is that on turn 1 she inflicts 18 bleed potency and 13 bleed count, for a total of 234 bleed damage. If you do not have some way to deal with that, she can and will very easily kill you. The best way to deal with it is by having both Feng Hunt Honglu and Princess Rodion support passives, as well as the Crystallized Blood Ego Gift from the Warp Train. I'm not quite sure which one activates first because both Rodion's passive and the Blood activate on turn end, but in the best case scenario, having all of them will reduce the bleed damage to only 33, and if not the best case, then 66. It's still quite a lot of bleed damage, but significantly more manageable than over 200. As for the actual fight itself, there's not really much to talk about. Sancho is a heavily scripted fight, so if you have enough damage to consistently trigger her phase transitions, she basically does nothing after the first couple of turns. If Sancho truly believed the dream was dead, well, she would have put up more of a fight than this.
방금 공격 다음에 다른 개체에게도 다시 해봐줄래? 영상으로 남기면 다른 직원에게도 도움이 될지도 몰라. 만만치 않겠군. 본인이 하지. 히어 아르카나 세이버.
칼날이 잘 드네요. 아마 그 공격이 약점이었겠죠?
성공. 본인은 만만치 않겠군. 본인이 하지.
완벽한 한방. 시원한
무슨
걸.
일 있었던 겐가?
내 꿈은 끝났어.
만만치 않겠군. 본인이 하지. 아르카나 세이버. 승객이
배워놓겠어.
한방 먹였어.
금방 끝내고 버스로 돌아갈 수 있겠다. 그치?
만만치 않겠군. 본인이 하지. 히어 아르카나 세이버. 이제야 회사가 정상으로 돌아갔네. 이번 제압은 끝이야. 승리의 보람과 세상의 아름다움에 대해 들어본 적 있는가? 없어도 전혀 상관없다네. 지금 우리가 보는 경치가 바로 그런 것일 테니.
And that's how I beat Mirror Dungeon 6 hard using the one and only Queen of Hatred. You know, the reason why I was even introduced to Project Moon in the first place was because of the Queen. Crazy, I know, but basically I just randomly stumbled upon a post talking about a magical girl fighting librarians and, you know, without any context, that sounds like just the most absolutely wildly outlandish claim, so much so that I had to know what they were talking about and, well, I fell in love with the series ever since. Anyway, as soon as Infinity Mode re-releases, you already know what identity I'm going to be using first. But that's it from me. Like and subscribe to not miss next time where we'll be using this character. Goodbye!